Hello. Welcome to our podcast today. In honor of it being about witches, which is a women's thing, I am our host and our opener, and you all have to listen to me, bitches. Because we're talking about witches.
Chris and I are
Fair
here
enough. Yeah, we're here too. I guess reluctantly as it sounds, but we're here.
Yeah.
We're here.
Yeah.
All right. Well, everyone grab your liquid death. They are not a sponsor of our podcast yet, but I'm working my ass off. So every day I tag them in something and request that they let us advertise them. So
yes, liquid death. If you're listening and you're checking us out, please, we'd love to have you as a sponsor. We love your product. Definitely love your product.
I sold you my soul, man. I do wonder, like, right? If someone actually comes to collect that, like, they're not the only ones. Like, I've sold my soul to a lot of people.
What makes me wonder, too, is since you hit that button, right? And Judgment Day comes, is that something that's going to be pulled up out of the book? So you remember the day you clicked yes on this one?
I think he'll overlook that because of how good the water is. He's probably had liquid death himself. He knows how good it is, and he probably signed his over
some
too.
Kind of death.
He had liquid life. I think it was more of a metal death that he endured.
Ooh.
I think liquid death is about as metal as you get.
Well, that's true.
Well, I think we just read our advertisement, Chris. Just save this for when we do our liquid death advertisement. All right,
somebody
let's get this show on the road. Excuse me. So today, there were a couple stories I wanted to talk about before we get to our Florida man that we've been kind of chatting about on our group text that I just felt like were honorable mentions for this week's podcast. So first we have the woman who was attacked camping as she scared off a grizzly bear, and then that bear returned and killed her in her sleep.
Well, be careful who you pick on.
That sucks,
definitely
though.
A bear with a
she
grudge.
Must have did something to piss him off because.
Well, she scared him. And then he looked like a punk bear in front of all the other bears. So he's like, "Oh, okay, I got this chick. I ain't no punk."
I think that's exactly how it went down.
I'll bring you her arm tomorrow. Watch.
So apparently, this 65-year-old woman scared off the bear based on investigation. I'm not sure how they declared this investigation, if there was like a camera that watched her scare this bear.
Was there other people there with the 65-year-old, or was she camping by herself?
There's 26 pages to this report. Found that she chased the bear away an hour before it returned and killed her in her tent. And she was traveling with her sister, but was sleeping alone. Mm-hmm.
You went to sleep an hour after you chased a bear? Come on, I'm not going to sleep at all. I'm not going to sleep at all for like 3 hours. I'm pumped up. I just chased that damn bear out.
So not only did she go to sleep in a tent behind the museum where it happened, her sister actually stayed at a nearby hotel because the people were like, don't stay in this area because there's a bear on the loose. You should stay at the hotel. And she was like, bitch, I chased that bear off. I'm sleeping in my tent. And the bear said, you think?
Who's the bitch now?
Mm-hmm. Bear sauce.
Bear sauce.
Bear sauce. So that's my kitty. So that's our one bear story. I have another bear story that happened this week in the news that I wanted to share. And it is bear eats wealthy couple and pilot after helicopter crash in wilderness. So we have some hungry bears out there, folks. So be careful if you are traveling in bear country.
Well, I
think there might be an epidemic of bear hunger going on.
Because we as a people are taking away their land.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, I have some questions about the bears. So this happened in Russia, where a bear mauled and ate a wealthy couple and a pilot after their helicopter crashed in the wilderness. And that really entertains me. I feel bad that the couple was eaten, but I also am really entertained that not only did your helicopter crash and catch fire when it came down, if you survived that,
It's like barbecued people for the bear. The bear just had barbecued people. Bear's like, dinner's on, bitches. No, I've never eaten bear.
Me either. So
Chris?
apparently,
I have had bear before. It's pretty good. It's a little.
Is it?
It's a little gristly, but it's good. It can be gamey.
Did you say a little grizzly?
It's still pretty good. Gristly.
Did you say it was like a little grizzly?
Little grizzly bear.
This was actually a grizzly bear. So
now, was it the bear that Putin rode shirtless in this picture? Was it that bear? Maybe he was trying to get back at people.
I'm not sure, but the peninsula where this happened has the largest bear population on Earth, with an estimated of 10,000 to 14,000 bears live on this peninsula, which is about the size of California. So imagine 14,000 bears in California. Any of our California listeners, that probably really hits home.
Imagine flying over this place and then all of a sudden your helicopter goes down. You're like, well, come on. Like you said earlier, if the helicopter crash doesn't kill you, got some bears for you.
Well, it's sort of, I feel like it's like, ooh, wow, I survived a helicopter crash, like higher power must be in my favor. And then all of a sudden here comes,
then the higher power goes, stand by. Stand by. We didn't hit that one right. Yeah.
I really also enjoyed the article. Informed us that bears usually do not seek out humans to eat. They actually are way more into like plants, insects, fish. But I think that Chris and David, you brought a good point of like
insects and fish.
No, insects.
Oh,
and sex.
But they probably
bears
do
like
have sex to make cubs.
Probably.
This was a grizzly bear, by the way. So he probably was pretty bristly. Oh, okay. But obviously we are not talking about bears today. Oh shit. All right. Sorry. So I wanted to actually have a good Florida story. Okay. So we are going to talk about our Florida man story. We do have a Florida person story today. It's a Florida woman in celebration of witches, which is our topic. And this story was actually shared by a friend of our podcast, my friend Tino. He listens to our podcast, and I think he listens. And he follows us, and he said, I think this would be a great story for your podcast. Tino also has a podcast. It's about sports, and it's pretty funny. So just wanted to share that out with our listeners. We'll share it on our Instagram. But if you are looking for like a sports podcast, if you're a sports person, I recommend checking them out. And they are called, Amanda should have been prepared to give this better.
That is not the name of it.
That is not the name of it. That is the Unrequested, which is a couple of friends talking about sports, all different types. I really like listening to them. Maybe one day they'll let me jump in, but just wanted to give them a shout out.
So their podcast is The Unrequested?
The Unrequested.
That's pretty unique. I like that. It's good.
Yeah, I think because it's like no one asked for their point of view on these sports things, and they gave them.
Yeah, it's like, here's my point of view, even though you didn't ask for it. Here you go.
My 2 cents.
I
Put
like
that in your pocket. Yeah, The Unrequested. Give them a listen and let them know the waters run deep sent you there.
Yeah, maybe they'll send us some listeners. We could have a little game.
Yeah.
All right.
A little share there.
So here's our topic. One woman with pitchfork whip arrested outside Publix in Florida. Here's what troopers say she was doing. The Publix manager told deputies that this woman was trying to sell teddy bears behind the store in Mineola. Is it Mineola, David?
I've never heard of Mineola.
It's in Lake County.
Spell it.
Minneola.
I'd say Mineola.
All right. We have found a place that David's never heard of.
Yeah, where our local Florida expert has lost this round. He didn't.
Yeah, I've been to Lake County, but I've never heard of Mineola. It's odd.
Well, if you were ever
I have to look that one up and go visit it.
Bear, yeah. If you're ever looking to buy a teddy bear, you can maybe find one at the Publix.
Sounds like a Noah lady with not only could I buy a teddy bear, there's pitchforks and whips for the other side of giving that teddy bear. Here's you a teddy bear, baby. Get ready.
Pitchforks and whips. So, yeah, I want to hear what her intentions were.
Yeah. So the manager told the troopers that this woman used a pitchfork to stab a minivan. And that the owner did not want police involvement, just wanted it to be fixed. And then she wouldn't stop what she was doing or put down the weapon. And she unbuckled her seatbelt in her car and started using it as a whip.
Hang on a minute. So she was driving the minivan?
No.
Or she was driving a car with the pitchfork out the door like an old jousting gimmick?
Yeah, is this like a Don Quixote situation going on here? Windmills and...
Because I kind of want to go to this freaking Publix to watch the jousting competition if this is something that's happening in Mineola.
Right.
I mean, Lake County's like a smaller, I wouldn't say smaller, it's a rural county. So, I mean, I guess you need to find something to do.
So, I just read a really funny part of the article. I think that this article may have been confused on the original county because as I read further down, she's being held at Orange Lake County Jail. So is there a Lake County and an Orange Lake County, Dave?
Hang on.
You're Googling?
Hitting the old Google.
Well, while you're doing that...
It's going to tell you it's fake and it doesn't exist.
Just to clarify, I do think that she was not jousting in a car. I think this is two separate things that were happening. She was using a pitchfork, unsure where she got the pitchfork from, to stab a minivan. And
Don Quixote style.
People called her. And then when they arrested her because she refused to put the weapon down, then she took off her seatbelt and started using that as the whip and kicking the window of the car.
So she's Catwoman and Don Quixote at the same time.
Yeah. Okay, so can I jump in real quick? Lake County,
yes, please,
is in Orlando. I have been to Lake County, and I have been to Orange County Jail. Orange County is the jail right outside of Orlando.
Okay.
I've picked up there several times. So I probably have been to Mineola, wherever in the hell Mineola is. It's got to be close to, I would assume, Orange County.
Well, this makes sense because I found this I was provided this from the Orlando.com news. So
I'm 54 minutes away from Mineola. Well, an hour and 17 minutes. For that.
I feel like that sounds like a Friday night plan.
It's right outside Lake Apopka.
So our dear friend here, Lake Apopka.
Apopka? Apopka. Apopka.
Where does Florida come up with these names for these lakes?
They're Seminolean, aren't they?
Lakes.
Yeah, it's mostly Indian names and stuff like that. When you have so many lakes that you have to frickin' name. I mean, Chris, you know this. Flying over Florida, look out the window. What do you see? A splotch of land and water. Well, they call the most water. Well, that's a lake.
Swimming pools.
Yeah. Or swimming pools. Yeah. If you were born and raised in Florida, anything's a swimming pool. Come through and change the Seminoles name. Then I want you to change Immokalee, Osceola, Okeechobee.
Yeah.
Okeechobee, that's a fun word to say.
I like Okeechobee.
If you're listening to the podcast, look up Okeechobee and tell me, send us a message on how you would say Okeechobee. Or Thanodisassa.
Kissimmee. Thanodisassa is my favorite.
What? Kissimmee? It's Kissimmee.
Kissimmee. Kissimmee.
Oh my God.
Okie dokie, Okeechobee.
There you go.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of places too in the East Coast that does have a lot of native, Like in Virginia, like Powhatans or the Powhatan Indians, there's a lot of like streets names and things that are named Powhatan. Or Powhatan, I think is how it's said, in Maryland, and
I don't think PA has too many Indians.
PA was
anymore, I bet.
PA was a little too cold. Bastards like, nope, screw that.
There's maybe actually, I'll send you guys. Right. There's a really cool site where you can like put in your address and see what natives lived where you live. And it's like it's not always like the big ones that we know of, like and what the population now is compared to before we got there, all of that. So
yeah.
Kind of cool.
Where are the Tonopah? Where are the Tonopah Indians at?
I have no idea. Oh, I'm getting.
Did I just make that up?
I've never heard of a Tonopah.
Anyways, let's finish talking about this lady. So she appeared to be highly intoxicated on some type of stimulant drug, which is not alcohol.
No way. Are you serious?
I know. We're shocked. I thought she learned her ways. And she had cut marks and bruises all over her, but she apparently reported that she felt no pain anymore because God was in control.
Yeah.
God, Jesus, take the wheel.
God / whatever drug it was.
Jesus, take the pitchfork.
I think the van got a few hits in.
Yeah.
Well,
before she stabbed it, the van definitely got a few hits.
I'm driving into Publix. Some crazy lady jabs my truck with a freaking pitchfork. Somebody's probably going to tote a tail whooping. I'm going to try and make that pitchfork go somewhere that it probably wasn't meant to be. And then I'm going to call her the devil.
I don't think she's going to have a pitchfork tail. That happened because I think I would know that they're like mentally ill. So like, I feel like I would just kind of like stop her from hitting the car as nicely as I can.
Okay. So but Chris, you work in sort of the same field. Okay. So let's play this scenario out. You have a mentally ill, let's go mentally ill, not even high person. And they're wielding a pitchfork in their vehicle, right? You attempt to remove said person from pitchfork, and said person breaks out the whole freaking seatbelt. I got a whip now. Guess what? It just escalated, cowboy. Now we're fighting again.
Yeah, that's tough.
Because you know as well as I do, if you go in with kid gloves, you're asking for it.
Yeah, I mean you can't.
I've done it once in my career. Go in with kid gloves and go, okay, this one's pretty fragile. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna go full bore. Cowboy ended up almost whipping my tail. I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. I understand now. Enough force to control the individual.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's just unreal.
Here's my question, though: where does one get a pitchfork?
You can buy those at any farm surplus stores.
Farm surplus store.
Would you like me to ship you one?
I think I'm imagining a pitchfork like Poseidon's.
That's a trident.
I don't think she was wielding a trident.
I think that would have been even better if it was a trident.
You know what? Being as how it's Florida and we're surrounded by water, she probably did have a trident.
I was going to say, I think it makes more sense that it's a trident.
The cop writing the report just said, you know what? We're just going to call it a pitchfork. We don't really need any more.
Let's get lazy.
Yeah.
Let's get lazy. Can't make her look any worse.
How do you spell trident? He asked like 6 people and he went, pitchfork.
You know what? I ain't even mad at the guy. I ain't even mad at the guy.
Large fork.
Because that's how I pull up Windows and I'm like, all right, spell this. Oh, shit, that's wrong. Try again. Oh, it's wrong. And then finally hit the right click button and it gives you the list of words that's nowhere near the word that you're looking for. So, I could see him misspelling trident and going, screw it, it's a pitchfork.
Is there a D in trident? Is it trident like the gum? Or
Isn't it TRIDENT?
Like the gum? That's some good gum. I think it's A-N-T.
It's E-N-T, T-R-I-D-E-N-T.
For the gum?
Trident.
It's the same as the gum.
I don't know about the gum. The definition of a trident is a 3-pronged spear, especially as an attribute to Poseidon or Britannia.
Who's Britannia? Is that his
so
wife?
If it has... So a 3-pronged spear is how they describe it. That's really interesting, first of all.
That's a pitchfork.
Pitchfork usually has like
4.
5 or 6. I feel like that has 5 or 6. So I wonder if they accurately just describe this lady's thing like we were just talking about, because if they could have still called it a pitchfork if it only had 3 things, So it could have actually been a trident. Theoretically, they could have just misidentified it.
All right, so I'm going to write Lake County. I want a picture of this evidence.
Yeah.
I can be one of those guys, finally.
Actually, I think that's public information anyway. It's evidence in a crime.
Just find it online.
It is.
That's
all right,
hilarious.
Shall we talk about some bad bitches called witches?
So definitely before we get on to this, because it's definitely on topic, your mother, before we started the episode, came in and said that was talking to us all, and then Amanda said what our topic was about, and she immediately said, "Oh, I know a witch!" Like, yeah, quickly. So, and we kind of cut her off, and she went about her way. So she texted me not too long after.
Oh, Jesus!
That happened. So maybe 20 minutes ago, and she writes the first text, says, "Hey, Martha the witch belonged to Clot from Massachusetts. They were very clingy, and only 'cause are at night. Martha is always in my dreams, XOXO." That's her exact text. So I didn't answer because we were recording the podcast. So I just realized she sent another text about 8 minutes ago and says, and they never wore black coats and pointed hats. They wore everyday clothes and worked regular jobs, I guess is what we were trying to say. You could be working with one. Answer me with all these emoji faces. One has like the disguise glasses. One has like a party hat. One's sleeping, and one has a sad face. Oops, we just got another message in. Look up witches in Massachusetts. I can't because Martha would be upset. What is she talking about, Amanda?
Amanda, you need to go check on your mom.
What the fuck is she talking about?
See, this is the bullshit that scares me about her coming down here, because she's going to wake me up out of a dead sleep and go, "Hey, Martha came, and I don't know how to respond to this."
So she says to me,
if we have to edit this out, Amanda, real quick, if we had to edit this out, I totally understand. I didn't realize that that's where that was going. But anyway, continue.
I wouldn't edit this out. I think this is perfect.
Great.
All right.
So she says to me, "Oh, I know a witch." And I said, "What, you?" And she got mad and walked away. And then when she came back in and scared the shit out of me, she said, "No, I know a witch named Martha. She was in my dreams when I was in my accident." And I said, "Oh, really?" And she's like, "Yeah, she was with me when I died." And I was like, "Go away." And I just ignored her. Chris, she's pulling your leg.
But probably not, though, Amanda. She also had a motorcycle in the back of her car in 3 pieces that she fully believes happened.
And she won the Mega Million.
Matter of fact, Chris, I'll sell you that motorcycle out of the back of Margaret's car. It's in 3 pieces. Previous conversation for the folks that are listening now. We were talking about getting a motorcycle. So
yeah. So wait a minute. When she was unconscious for all that time, she said she had some wild dreams.
Right?
Yeah.
Whatever you want to call them, experiences, dreams, whatever.
Yeah.
But is this what you're talking about? This is one of the ones she had when she was unconscious?
Martha's not real, and she's pulling your leg.
How do you know?
Because I know her. And I would do the same thing to get your goat. She's trying to get you.
She went pretty far with this one. Even to say that it was part of her dreams. I believe it.
No, because that's her thing right now, is to say she dreamt about it. That's like her thing. Because you can't tell her it's wrong. Okay. But yes, she absolutely dreamt that her and Aunt Bobby got into a motorcycle accident. And Aunt Bobby was mad at her for putting the motorcycle in 3 pieces. And that her car was broken. And that your dad, Uncle Jack, had to fix the car. And that was one of her dreams. She kept like talking about it. And I was like, what are you talking about? And then David remembers this one. And then there was another one where she told us she had won the Mega Million in July. She was a billionaire and won the lotto. And I was like, what?
That's just a damn shame. We ain't seen none of that money.
I know, right? And then the other one that she like talks about a lot was being in like an army like hospital and then playing like taps and stuff. But she's never mentioned Martha, which is why I'm telling you, Martha is a hoax.
Okay.
Now,
fair enough.
If you really want to get her, you should reply back and see how far she can take it.
All right.
Well, I mean, for her to come up with Martha that fast, I mean, that.
Dude, do you want to know what she named her cane? Her cane's name is Helga. She has names everywhere. Have you ever heard of a Martha?
What's the guy's name that I live with?
Oh, Cousin Mike.
So I just, the Waters Run Deep podcast spinoff. You ready?
Oh my God, can we do this? I know where you're going, Chris, and I love it.
Dreams.
If you put her on a freaking mic, we will sell tickets.
Just gonna have my mom talk.
No, well, yes, that would be the start of it. As she talk about her experiences when she had her
would sell tickets.
You know, with her dreams when she was unconscious, when she was sick. So that would be the first couple episodes, right? Have it like a series of episodes, and then I record my dreams, so I've written down pretty much all of my dreams for the past year and a half, I think. And I don't dream that often, but when I do, I make sure I write them down when I wake up because I tend to forget them pretty quick. But, and like I said, I don't dream that much. So there's maybe 20 dreams in there, maybe. So that could get us going for a while. And they'd be short episodes because it's not going to take very long because there's not that many details. But, if I read a couple of them or,
well, people like read into your dreams as far as like what. It's weird how they read into it. It's like, okay, this happened, so that means this in life.
Yeah. So it'd be cool to even have guests that do that stuff. That interpret dreams, like clairvoyance or whatever they have. That'd be cool to interview some of those people for that. So, if any of our listeners are interested in that or know anybody that would be interested in that, let us know. We'll maybe post something on our Instagram about it and see what you guys think about a spinoff like that. If you guys are interested, maybe we'll make it work. You can hear some of Margaret's experiences when she was unconscious, and then you get in some of my dreams and see where we go from there. We could, take emails from listeners that have had wild dreams and read them on the episodes, or, we could take it a lot of ways. So if you're interested, let us know.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, I just went in there to see what she was doing, and she was like, "Oh yeah, Martha, she's 110 years old." And I was like, "All right, crazy lady, I'm just gonna."
Well, so there's been an update. So after that, after she wrote, "I can't because Martha would be upset," and look up witches in Massachusetts, I wrote, "What would she do when she is upset?"
She beats her.
Marg wrote back, "Many human rights!" ! So I have.
What?
She just offers her rights.
I mean, right?
You have the right to remain silent. What's some basic human rights?
Rights.
We're probably going to have to start taking her phone away from her. We're going to have to treat her like Savannah over here.
What's some human rights? What's some basic human rights?
The right to freedom, liberty, free speech, guns,
house, the right to your safety, right to food, water. you know, the right to marry.
I like how this worked, Amanda. You went food, water, I went guns.
But I agree, but I don't think those are like human rights, though. I think there is.
I mean, basic human rights are like Maslow's hierarchy of needs would tell you that like physical safety is your first need. So it's like food, water, shelter.
Oh, so like you're right. There's 20 of them. So I'll just read the first. Oh, shit. Hold on a second.
How's Martha? I mean, I can see Martha taking away my food, but she's not touching my liquid death. Once again, Liquid Death, please sponsor us. Thank you. Thank you.
Right. You just sounded like Ricky Bobby right there. Shake and bake trademark by Ricky Bobby.
Apparently, so here's the list. So there's 30 basic. There's apparently a Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and there's 30 basic human rights. There's a whole list. There's 30 of them. So the first 3 are all human beings are free and equal. Second one is no discrimination, and the third is right to life.
I don't understand how the first and 2 are different rights, because no discrimination and being equal are the same thing, I would assume. I take that as the same.
Pretty much. Yeah, it is actually.
People are just looking for filler rights.
Yeah. And they start at the top. Fourth one's no slavery. Fifth is no torture and inhumane treatment. So it's kind of that's your basic human rights for listeners that were curious. But there's a list of 30
is basically what we're saying is Martha is going to take away your right to not be discriminated against. She's going to discriminate against you. Martha is going to put you in slavery, which is not cool.
Yeah, that's not cool.
Maybe I'm Martha because I make her do my laundry and I tell her I will give her a medicine unless she does it.
Yeah, maybe she's yeah. Interesting.
Oh man. All right, can we finally talk about witches?
Yes, let's get into witches. What, we're almost 40 minutes in, 43 minutes in actually. And we haven't even hit our topic yet. Yay, us.
Well, I was going to have my friend Jess join us. Jessica is someone who knows a lot about witches, history of witches, witchcraft, Wiccan, which we'll talk about what that means, all of that. But Jess broke her leg a little bit less than a month ago, and has had to go under some surgery and stuff. So she was not with it to join us. But Jess, if you're listening, we love you. And maybe another time you can come talk about witches. So
yes, we'd love to have you on. We do a repeat episode to have you on, talk about witches and speedy recovery.
Okay, so I want to talk about, when we think about witches, we usually think about like the storybook, the fairy tales, the fantasies, the satire, all of that. So witches are everywhere. And if we think about witches, we probably all have our thoughts. If I was like, actually, I'm going to do this. So David, when I say witches, who's the first witch you think of?
The Wicked Witch of the East off of Wizard of Oz.
So the pretty one?
Okay, the West. I do think about the pretty one. Who wouldn't think about the pretty one? She was
from the North. Yeah.
Oh, was it North?
See, I hate
where's the Wicked Witch of the East? Where's the one from the East?
We never talk about the East or the South.
I hate Wizard of Oz.
That's weird. Why would they go North and West?
There's got to be something to that.
Yeah, there has to be. I have to look into that.
There's more stories than like just the Wizard of Oz that he wrote, so it might be. But in the Wizard of Oz specifically, it's just West and North. Just a good witch from the North.
I'm the same way. I think of the Wicked Witch from the West. She's the first one. Like I pictured her specifically when you asked that question, like immediately.
And how can I choose the one direction that there's no witch associated with? That's awesome.
You didn't grow up with me. Poor Christopher had to grow up watching Wizard of Oz, every day for the first 20 years.
It's probably why I'm as dark as I am, because of the Munchkin hanging himself in the background. So now I have this dark string in me.
You should probably sue Disney for your pain and suffering.
There's actually a really cool podcast called like Hollywood Ruined It For Me, and they do an episode about the dark stuff that happened with the Wizard of Oz. I'll have to send it to you guys. Yeah. It's really interesting. It's more than just the Munchkin part. There's like the paint they used to color the witch, like the green paint, made her so sick because it had like lead in it.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask. Like lead or something else.
Yeah, and the same with the original Tin Man actually died from it or got really sick, and then they replaced him. And
from all the tin?
Yeah, right. So yes, I also think of the Wicked Witch of the West, but that is because The Wizard of Oz, for a very, 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 very long time, was the only movie I watched and was my favorite movie, and I was convinced my name was Dorothy from Oz. It has only been replaced. It's not replaced. It just has a secondary favorite movie with what movie, David?
Oh, I don't know.
Come on. We watch all the time. Forrest Gump.
Oh, Forrest Gump's great. I didn't know didn't know that was like one of your favorite movies.
It's my favorite movie, like as an adult.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I thought I told you when we watched it one day, and we like both knew everything. A side story: your Uncle Charlie and I drove from Florida to Maryland one time, and he had it was when you guys have DVDs in the car, and we watched Forrest Gump, The Green Mile, and Shawshank Redemption on repeat.
Great movies.
So
all three great movies.
Right. And so those, I love all three of those, but I love Forrest Gump. But yes, Wizard of Oz was my favorite movie as a child, and I still watch it every time it's on. I love Wicked, all of those.
It's a shame Tom Hanks wasn't in the Shawshank Redemption. You'd have had a little Tom Hanks gimmick going on.
I know, right?
He's a great actor.
I love to learn from Tom Hanks. He is. I really want to see that movie Elvis that he was in.
Elvis looks good, yeah.
Yeah.
He's not my favorite actor. Anyways, who's my favorite actor, Amanda?
Oh my God, we definitely talked about this.
Ryan Reynolds.
I kept
That's my guy.
thinking Ryan, but I kept wanting to say Ryan Gosling, and I was like, it is not Ryan Gosling.
No.
That's right, because you would date Ryan Reynolds.
I would in a heartbeat. I'd turn gay for that guy.
I'm telling you, I'm kind of feeling you, David, but Ryan Gosling's my new catch right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, because of Barbie?
No, because of The Gray Man. It's on Netflix.
Oh, is that good?
Oh man, it's good. It's good. I love Ryan Gosling because the character he plays is not, but it definitely has that Baby Driver feel. If you like the movie Baby Driver,
Baby Driver,
his character. Yeah, that character, he kind of has that feel in this movie, but a little different in a better way, I think. But fabulous movie. Made me re-fall in love with him. But I also like Keanu Reeves a lot.
Keanu Reeves is fantastic. He really gets into his stuff, and he's a down, sorry about that, a really good down home person. You little whore.
Yeah, he's very down to earth. He's great.
Have you ever seen his training?
Not movie with him.
Go ahead, Amanda.
Wait, with Keanu Reeves training or Ryan Reynolds?
Keanu Reeves' gun training for the movies he did.
John Wick.
John Wick. Have you ever watched his gun training videos?
Yeah.
For real, that dude gets after it.
Yeah, he gets into it. For
sure.
It. He did a lot of his hand-to-hand stuff too for that movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he did a lot of the hand-to-hand and a lot of the shooting scenes, and he wanted to be as proficient as he possibly could, and he went to one of the top gun instructor schools for actors, and they have a lot of videos of him on YouTube doing his run-throughs and stuff like that. That cat's for real. If it goes bad, he's got it. He's got it.
Yeah.
I love that.
For sure.
Mine is Chris Hemsworth, which doesn't play into this conversation.
Yeah, he's good. Really he's good. I like Chris Hemsworth.
So, anyway, let's finally talk about witches, please.
You're going to have so much editing work to do, Chris. It's not even funny.
It's all good though. It's all good.
But I think that's what makes these podcasts is like our back and forth
our banter and
stuff. You know.
Yeah.
The tangents.
Okay. So, in the late 16th, early 17th century, men and women from both high and low statuses believed in witches. So with a quote from someone saying in 1602, the land is full of witches. They abound in all places. But they were not seen as like fun or like exciting, but as like this deadly threat to like the lively and divine order. And there are some reasons behind this. And I would like you to guess, who do you think put forth these reasons of why witches are not good?
I can't think of his name, but he was a pilgrim. He was like the head. He was the head, like the reverend or whatever they called him back then.
Yeah. So I like where your mind is. No, he probably played into this, but the original like enemy of the witches was our favorite power organization, the Catholic Church.
Really?
So, yeah. So between 1482 and 1782, thousands of people across Europe, most of them women, were accused of witchcraft and then, because of that, executed. But many of them were innocent of the crimes brought before them. From powerful priestesses to demonic masters of the occult, the history of witches is a story of dangers of women in a male-dominated world. So many of these women were depicted as like old, ugly, like hooked noses, like over a cauldron. They were like toil and trouble, boil and bubble. But really, that isn't kind of what witches were. Huh. So a lot of the women who were being like convicted of witchcraft or believed to be witches were actually healers and what we would kind of call doctors, but like didn't have the title doctors because women couldn't go to school, but they used like herbs and medicine and stuff to heal people and to like help members of the community. And
so they were like earth healers then, right?
Yeah.
Like they do that a lot now where they try to silence and cancel these, type of healers that use the earth to heal things rather than big pharmaceuticals. So it's kind of
but there's a lot of people going back to that. Going back to the earth healing.
Yeah, holistic. Trying to get away from I think it's holistic medicine.
Holistic, yeah.
Yep.
And I think I think that's a big thing that it's still being silenced today, and that's another way that when in history when it was also being silenced.
So a lot of it really dates back to these women who were very much in nature, like we're very common with the herbs in nature, with what if you mix this and this, it can help with this. And they kind of were creating this power that certain entities and other like people didn't want them to have. So I actually think a lot about like one of my favorite shows is I just forgot what it's called. Oh my gosh. It's my favorite show. Oh, Outlander.
Favorite show and gone.
It's on Netflix. I know. It's COVID brain. So Outlander is this great show. It talks about this woman who was a nurse during World War II, kind of mythically goes back in time and goes back to like the Jacobite times, which is kind of, I think, 1700s probably, I think. And she knows all these things because, she knows that like these herbs make medicine.
Right.
Or, and so the people start to say that she's a witch because she knows like, oh, this and this makes this. Or she has vaccines, right? She's vaccinated for like smallpox and all those things. And so she doesn't get it when she's around people. And so they think she's a witch because, it's devil's play.
Most of the witches thing was these people were being misunderstood. Like they weren't getting sick and it's like, oh, well, something evil's inside you or, whatever. So that's why they would call
or this
them
person must have the work of the devil to be able to heal, even though they just, knew that. I read this. I'm not going to bore you with this story. Right. Or that the Black Plague came from lice or fleas on mice, you know. There's an interesting story I read about like a woman doctor who was really fascinated with like women anatomy. And so like she actually learned like how like the uterus works and stuff. And it like was apparently, you know, taboo to talk about those things. And so when she was like, that's not actually how pregnancy works and how this works, they called her a witch. So a lot of it is really based on this misogyny and power. But witch hunting actually goes back to nearly 4,000 years ago. It's kind of hard to pinpoint exactly where the witch hunting started. In the Middle East and in ancient civilizations, they actually worshipped a lot of female deities. And those women actually practiced these like holistic rituals and were trained to be wise women to know how the earth gave back. And a lot of that was actually kind of, you know, really killed off or like put to be bad when the Catholic Church became super powerful. So the Catholic Church, as always, likes to ruin our fun. And I say that as the Catholic.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. So these wise women would, you know, make house calls, deliver babies. They would deal with infertility. They would cure impotence. They would help with like miscarriages, abortions. They would help with like bleeding. They had, you know, ways to tell if women were pregnant. Like they didn't have like a stick to pee on back then, right? And a lot of like women's health was really not talked about in like medical books. It was all men's health. And so these women
like
kind of
midwife
were the ones who did it. Yeah, very much so. Yeah. So what's interesting about them is that they were really positive figures in societies, but like a king would not like have them on their council. The army wouldn't have them be a part of them, but they were so important to society because they were the ones that were helping like continue the population and make sure that like people were being healed. But some scholars believe that certain events that linked like Christianity kind of coming into the Western European world really brought forth this dominant, like overpowering of like female deities and like female knowledge. And so that's when like this idea of witches kind of came about. So then obviously in like the 1300s, 1400s, when we start finding this, the Catholic Church begins their Inquisition and they decide to punish anyone who's not Catholic, who goes against Catholicism, who's maybe still pagan. We're looking at like our pagans in like Germany, pagans in, you know, the Scandinavian countries, like the Vikings, Irish pagans. And really kind of doing these mass deaths and calling it like devil worshippers and including witches. So a lot of these women who, you know, were believed to worship, you know, different parts of non-Christianity were seen to be the devil and therefore, you know, killed.
So a lot of the Knights Templar did the killing for that, I believe.
Yeah. Yep.
Conspiracy strikes again.
You know, there's a lot of like misunderstanding about, there's so much culture. I mean, imagine if someone comes in and says like, you know, you can no longer, you know, it's considered to, I don't know.
Well, they'd put them on a ship and set the ship on fire, wouldn't they?
Like that's the devil's work. Well, that's like our culture. And for certain cultures, that's like a part of how you know, celebrate a birth or whatever. Or, you know, I was telling like the Viking culture, they would set fire to the body so they can go to Valhalla, things like that. And so these were cultures that kept on.
It would have been a religion outside the Catholic Church and they would have persecuted.
So imagine that now this like larger entity, because the king is Catholic or that's who's in control, you can no longer practice what you've been practicing for hundreds of years, what you know. Yeah. So it's religious persecution. So and that there you know, there's these theories that all these witches were people who practiced witchcraft. You know, they used magic spells. They, you know, called spirits. They did the work of the devil. but a lot of them were simply just healers or wise women, and were calling nature to help and asking the earth to give back.
So they were, there could have been some of them that were, attempting to commune with some dark ones, but most of them were just regular old holistic healers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of them were also, we talked about this before. I think that there are people who are connected to the spirits of the other side. So we may have had some, people who were, or women who were connected like to ghosts, or who were able to connect with other spirits. All of that. And that would be seen as, not kosher because it's connecting with the devil.
Right.
Yeah.
That's nice.
So the witch hysteria really took force in Europe during the 1400s, when many accused witches, they would confess to their wicked behaviors, often under torture. And within this century, there were witch hunts that were commonly done, with most of the accused being executed by burning at the stake or hanging. And this would include single women. Sorry?
That gives a whole needing to beat it out of you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they literally did.
Well, and I mean, in some of these instances, I'm sure these women, after so much torture, you just go, yeah, you're right, I did it.
Yeah.
You might even start to
they
believe.
probably admitted to stuff that they.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. But people can still do that to you today. But you go, yeah, you know what? I did it just to end the torture.
Yeah.
Just to go, you know what? I'm done being beaten, or I'm done being accused, or I'm done. So yeah, I did it. Whatever. And then they get killed.
Yeah, I mean, another of the ways they attempted to find out, I'm sure Amanda's going to touch on this, but when they find out if they're a witch or not, they use some peculiar ways to do it. They would say, "We'll do the drowning test and stuff," but we'll get into that here, I'm sure, shortly. So go ahead, Amanda.
Yeah, we have a couple of things. One of the interesting things that we're talking about, like torture, was like the Spanish Inquisition was part of, like, this was kind of the same time. And I remember going to like this museum. It's called the Torture Museum. That is just interesting. And there are lots of devices that put things up your bunghole. Yes. So I think a couple times after that, I'd be punishment.
Yeah. When we went to the Crime and Punishment, and you're right, there's a lot of torture devices that involves the old butthole from ancient times. And that's kind of, what's going on there, guys? What's going on there? We need to have a talk.
Yeah, why is the butthole such a big thing?
I'd rather you rip my fingernails out with pliers than start,
Well, that's probably why, you want your fingernails gone. We're going to go right up your rear end.
I guess you go for the...
You'll tell us you'll tell us right away. We won't even have to worry about the 10 fingernails.
That's a fair point,
right? I mean, like, you do that and be like, all right, I'll tell you whatever you want, because I don't ever do that again, and honestly, like, right. I feel like if you get to that point, you're already probably closer to death, that you're like just ready to meet your maker or restart or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
well,
yeah. So a lot of the women,
the higher power knows the
truth. A lot of women that were targeted were mostly like single women who had like not been married. So we would call them old maids, or, women who maybe like just really were not a higher class, like were maybe on the margins of society, like kind of hung with their own crowd. And then widows, like women whose husbands may have died a long time ago, or older, those types. So I really I thought this was interesting. I didn't know this, but according to a book that was written, that this book was written in order to save the church and its followers from the devil, then these women had to be tamed. So you gotta tame these women.
Wow.
Yeah.
Get them in line.
So with that in mind,
could you imagine putting that in today's terms? Could you imagine like an article coming out saying, we have to tame these women? These women have gone far beyond their realm. We need to.
Are you kidding? There's articles that come out all the time that say that. You just don't follow me on Instagram enough, where I'm like, tame this, Matt Gaetz. Sorry, bring that down.
No, I really don't.
Wow.
I don't look at those articles because I think it's nonsense. For somebody to write that, I think is nonsense today.
The witch is behind me.
No, the witch, Margaret is behind you.
So the Catholic Church Inquisitor Jacob Springer and Heinrich Kremer wrote this book called the Malleus Maleficarum, which was instructed to help hunters in the gruesome task of diagnosing and punishing so-called witches who were women that were like sexually vulnerable and therefore easy to prey on the devil.
Yeah, that's the Witch Finder's book. It's the Witch Hunter's book.
Yep.
It's the Maleficum or something like that. What is it?
Malleus Maleficarum.
Yeah, Malleus Maleficarum.
If they're sexually vulnerable,
yeah, what's up with that?
Then they're a witch.
Well, I mean, again, if we think about the aspect, I will put the link in there if you want more about it, and I'll share with our listeners.
That means that
if she's promiscuous,
that she's sleeping around before marriage, kind of thing.
If you're promiscuous, I think that
I know a witch too.
I think there are a lot of assumptions that women hold such, and there's this assumption. Oh, I could have my own separate podcast about this, but there are assumptions that women hold this ability to like control men with our sexuality. And that you all have no way to choose. Like I'm sorry, but you have to.
Did you say there was a theory?
Yeah.
Did you say that was a theory?
Yeah, you can't. I'm sorry.
It's not a theory.
If I wear a short skirt, you have to sexually assault me. Well, you don't because you're my cousin, but.
Oh, well.
I think that's the thought is that.
In that aspect, yes.
Right.
That aspect is wrong.
Right. Yes, women, if you are attracted to women, and you find them attractive, great. But you also are a human who can make decisions. But there's this thought that women just men can't control themselves. And we apparently are to blame for it.
It's not completely wrong.
No.
But again, it's not completely the woman's fault either.
No, I mean, I don't think I agree with that 100%. I mean, just because a woman wears something that's inappropriate / revealing doesn't mean she needs to be assaulted verbally, physically by a man by any means. But I feel like it can give the wrong impression to a man if a woman is dressed that way. You know what I mean? Like it's nothing. It doesn't give permission to go up and touch them or talk to them down or whatever, but it gives impression that like she is being promiscuous.
She's easy.
Or you know what I mean? That she's looking or interested, you know?
Right.
So it gives
I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to challenge you.
I'm a happily married man, so I think this needs to go to David.
What are you trying to say, Chris?
No, I'm not challenging you. I'm not challenging you on like what women have you gone up to. I'm challenging you on my question, and you don't have to answer this. I want you to ponder it. We can talk about it later or here if you want. But where do you think the concept that a woman who is showing more than is appropriate, I'm using quotation marks, is promiscuous? Where did that come? Where were you taught that?
I don't know if I was necessarily taught that. I think it was just the idea that, sex is about two, I'm going to say human beings in this case, loving each other in an affectionate and physical way. And I think that when you were revealing less clothes, that gives the idea of them or you the idea by looking at them that you are, thinking about promiscuous things. So it's it's just giving that impression, whether that's what she intended. She just thinks she looks better by wearing less clothes. It kind of goes back to the same thing. She thinks she looks better to whoever she's trying to look better for. So she is being promiscuous. So it's kind of like that chicken and the egg conundrum in a sense.
Or maybe she's just a busty lady. Like, I have a friend who's quite busty, and like, I'm not talking about my boobs because you're my cousins, but I'm also quite busty. And there are times, I mean, right now I'm not, but there are times I have to be careful. But I guess the conversation.
And I was going off the short skirt scenario, but yeah, no, you're fine. I was going off the short skirt scenario, but yeah, there's times where, like you said, if they're wearing, they have to be happen to be a busty woman, and they're wearing a top that pushes them up, pushes them out. At the same time, like, did she have to buy that shirt?
It could have been hot that day, and they wanted to wear a tank top.
Okay,
or maybe they're just proud they have boobs. Like,
that's fair. I think
the part
here's like so this conversation, I'm going to preface it. This is a trigger thing for me. And it's only a trigger thing for me because
you like
no, not in that aspect. Well, I'm more of a butt guy, but this is something that I've lived through. Mm-hmm. As far as that's the only reason you look at women. I've been accused of sexualizing women. Right. Okay. And I've been accused of that from a person that used to be in my life that I held to a higher standard. I am not that type of person. I don't sexualize women. I'm not that type of person that walks around. A woman is as equal to a man. They have their own thoughts, their own rights, their own abilities, and everything like that. So I don't generally walk around and sexualize every woman that I see. That's not my personality. However, in the same breath, I think I fall in line with every other man that if you walk past me in a short skirt, I'm going to take a look. I'm going to go, okay, she can wear that skirt. She can do that. I don't think it was a taught maneuver so much so as it is something that comes naturally to a man. Because I think a woman, right. I think a woman has the same mindset aspect and goes, oh, well, that guy's kind of attractive. He's wearing some tight pants or whatever. He's got a nice rear end. He's got a nice figure. His dad bod attracts me. Whatever the case may be with that. I'm still trying to figure out what it. Right. See, I'm still trying to figure out what attracts a female, but
honestly, just be funny.
I don't think it's such a
and be nice to us.
I don't think
it's not hard.
Geez. Well, and that's what I try to do, but I don't think the sexualizing of females is a taught maneuver as I've been accused of it. I don't think it's something that is a learned behavior. Does your parents have, I guess, some influence on how you look at life? Absolutely.
So I'm going to
one of my father's favorite jokes to play with my mother was to walk up to a lady and go, "Hey, pretty lady, can I have your number?" And do that for my dad while my mom's standing there. And he thought he got a kick out of it. It was funny because my mom would react. Now, my mom knew my father loved her unconditionally and was going home with her.
Right.
So it wasn't, oh my God, we're getting a divorce or, whatever. You have my kid do this.
I think that, so I'm going to give you two thoughts about this. I don't think it is the finding men or women attractive part that I think is taught. That's your attractive, whatever. That's your sexuality. Right. Well, that's your preference of what you want.
Your choice.
What I am arguing is that we live in a society where it has been ingrained within our media, within who we are, within the news, all of that certain women who dress a certain way or who are around a certain crowd or who do a certain thing are promiscuous. And we might not even realize that we do that. And on the flip side, as a woman, we have been ingrained that we have to look a certain way, do a certain thing. And so I'm going to argue with you all, not argue, but I'm going to flip this on you. As a woman in this family, I have heard many times our male family members comment sexually about other women's bodies. Not mine, obviously.
No, for sure.
And it has made me, as a woman, uncomfortable with my body and with what I hear. And so it's very interesting to think about, like, as a woman growing up in this family, like, for a long time, I'm very curvy. A lot of our cousins are not curvy. Like, if we think about how I'm shaped compared to, like, your sister and like they're very like Courtney is so straight, right? But I hated the way I looked, and a lot of it I've learned through like myself was because of how I heard men and I surrounded myself with talk about women.
Well, and
and didn't want to
that's
be
also something that
this way, but it also
has
didn't want to be
pressed,
right?
That's something that was pressed pretty hard in my past. Was you generalize women based on their looks. That's and I don't think it's just our family, our people, or I think it's
I agree with you there.
Men in general, and I think women do the same thing to other women.
Absolutely.
I've heard women walk by and go, "Oh my God, she's beautiful. Do you see the rear end on her? Or do you see? I wish I had her boobs, or whatever." You hear women doing the same thing. I'm not going out, to Walmart and going, "All right, I'm going to, check out every woman that's here for
you go to Walmart and pick
how I would rate them on my sexual." Well, who knows?
Can we we need to start that as like a Wednesday Instagram thing. Women at Walmart for David. Wednesday women at Walmart.
No.
No, but
let's not do that. I've seen the people of Walmart posts. None of those would be attractive for me.
No, I agree with you, Dave. It is not just
they all have lovely personalities, David. All of them.
Oh, I'm sure they do. I'm sure. Just look at what they're wearing. Their personalities are on their bodies.
I just want us to think, and this is to our listeners too, of where do we get concepts? And a lot of this idea of, I just lost the word, promiscuity, all of that comes from our Puritan Catholics. Not saying with Catholic, but we are really based. Our culture is very Puritan, very Christian based, and we can link it back to what was being said. Like, I'm going to give you this quote from these two monks that wrote this book. "What else is a woman but a foe to friendship? They are evil, lecherous, vain, and lustful. All witchcraft comes from carnal lust, which is, in women, insatiable. So if that's being taught, and then you teach, and this was what, 600, 700 years ago? But we're still kind of it's just very interesting.
Well, you still hear it. Women are evil.
Yeah.
You'll hear a guy that's been done wrong by a woman or what. Women are evil.
Yeah,
women are evil.
Yeah.
Women, women have this innate ability to just, they'll attract you and then they'll spit you out. I get it. If there's somebody that gets it, I get it.
I think
I'm scared to death.
Women also have, see themselves as that. I was, at a all women's event, and somebody to comment about how oh, we're women, so we're catty and drama. And I was like, bitch, I know a ton of men who are catty and drama.
For sure. For sure.
If it's not based on your gender.
For sure.
But I think that, so I'm not trying to say women and men versus other. I just really always, when I think of these things, it's just interesting to me to hear this, vivid description of prejudice that was 600 years ago, that at the time was considered the second Bible in terms of popularity. People own the Bible and they own this witch, How to Find a Witch book. So kind of interesting of how it probably still is really impacting us today and what we look at when we think about women. And I could go, and we'll talk a little bit more about modern women, but I thought it was important to kind of give the history of that. So between 1500 and 1660, up to 80,000 suspected witches were put to death in Europe. 80% of them were women. And they were thought to be in cahoots with the devil and filled with lust. Germany had the highest witchcraft execution rate, and then Ireland had the lowest. So, kind of interesting.
Good old Germany coming back in with the kills.
Right.
Thanks, Germany.
Germany's all about, if I don't like your type, you're gone.
So they really, what they really kind of focused on with this, identifying, hunting, and interrogating witches was first this interest in magic And then in the 1400s, there was this rediscovery of like Arabic writing, Jewish writing, Romani writing, Egyptian. A lot of that comes from the Knight Templar, bringing it back, kind of all of that, which then called forth more of that exotic, different types of art, things like that, that the Catholic Church was like, sorry, this is the devil. So kind of interesting part there.
Yeah, it definitely is. It just keeps going back to that, like, Catholic Church silence and everything, you know? It's funny how it keeps going back to that.
I know.
Well, it sounds like if it sounds like if it's not Catholic Church approved, they want to make it go away, you know?
Which was had so much power.
Yeah, big time. And
which makes me think about. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. The arm was the Knights Templar. If you didn't do it our way, we're sending in the boys, you know?
Yeah. It really makes me think when we think about, like, I was listening to some politician, which I should never do, but they were talking about how, like, you know, America should be a Christian state. And, you know, I think having your religion, whatever you want, but we've seen how when religion is the power of the government in the state, what can happen. And this is another example of kind of that. So, by the end of the 1600s, the witch hunting hysteria had reached its peak in Europe, with, you know, witch hunting spreading like wildfire. Like I said, mostly of it was in Germany, where hundreds of women would be persecuted a day. But not just women, also children. A lot of children, young girls were a part of that. And there were some towns that no women could be found in the town because they were all murdered. So,
and this is
wow.
Is this in United States or is this still over?
No, we're still in Europe. We haven't moved over yet to the U.S. So thousands were arrested, brought in for inquisition. Any kind of suspicious mole, birthmark, you could get a death sentence there. Really, like, women would just confess because they were sick of being tortured. And the church would use instruments such as thumb and leg screws, head clamps, and the Iron Maiden to guarantee the truth would come out before they killed the women. And I just really want to take a moment to pause. If you're wondering what to do if you do catch a woman, you can definitely look up a witch. Sorry, not a woman. A witch. You can.
I was going to say, if you catch a woman, I got one. What do I do?
What do I do with it now?
Listen, I thought we were fixing to write the God's book because every man wonders what they do when they catch a woman. What do we do now? I got her.
Well, I'm going to tell you, if you want to catch a witch, if you are tormenting a woman that you are trying to get her to tell you that she's a witch, do not make eye contact with her because her evil powers may cause you to develop feelings of compassion. That is a direct quote from this book. That if you make eye contact with her, her evil powers might make you feel bad for her.
And she'll see what you look like, and she'll be able to tell the police after they come pick you up.
Right. Oh, shit. Ugh. So, moving past good old Europe, the most famous witch kind of hunt that took place in America is the Salem witch trials. We'll talk about those. They began roughly in the 17th century as when witches started kind of becoming a conversation in the U.S. and America. America was still being founded, with Massachusetts being a big part of that. So
Thanksgiving wasn't even Thanksgiving yet, was it?
There was not a Thanksgiving like we knew it. No. We could talk all about that as a conspiracy theory.
Mm-hmm.
So I was going to spend some time talking about the witch trials, if you are good with that.
Good old Salem.
Good old Samuel Parris.
Samuel Parris. So the Salem witch trials began in 1692 in the home of the Puritan minister named Samuel Parris. So Parris was deeply concerned about his daughter, about this game that his daughter Elizabeth and his niece Abigail were playing, in which the two girls looked into a primitive crystal ball and apparently saw a coffin. This vision sent them into convulsions. Oh, very interesting. And within a few days, then like 9 other girls throughout the community were stricken with the same ailment. And because of this, the girls were then named 3 witches to have cursed them. So they were telling Samuel and the town that these 3 witches cursed them, and that's why they were having these convulsions, apparently. So the 3 women were Tituba, which was a household slave, Sarah Good, who was a beggar woman, so a woman who really didn't have a home, again, a single woman, and then Sarah Osborne, who was a widow rumored to have had an affair with one of her servants. All 3 of these women were social outcasts. They were easily targets. They met kind of that criteria I talked about earlier. And so that really created this hysteria that led to the trials, which spread to 24 outlying villages. So it wasn't just that, it happened in Salem, but it happened in 24 other villages around Salem. And the jails accused there had more than 200 accused witches. 27 of them were found guilty. 19 were killed. And the trial ended a swift end because the victims began to point fingers at high-ranking figures within the community. And then, like, those were men. And the men were like, oh, no, it's not me. I'm a man. And I don't think they're Southern. I don't really know how they talked back then.
I was going to wonder how they sounded like that.
Doth not me, I am a man. And so then they eventually ended up kind of ending it. And it was ended when the wife of the governor of Massachusetts was killed of witchcraft. And they were like, I think we're good here. And they stopped.
Man, they got the governor's wife.
Yeah. So.
Jeez. I think they used a lot of that to cover stuff up. I feel like they used it to cover up stuff they were doing or to get somebody out of the
for sure. Just silence somebody or whatever.
And the further they got in, the further they started pointing.
The girls really liked the attention. They really liked the notoriety. It was a big news story. And so they were kind of eating it up. Like if they had TikTok nowadays, they would have been TikTok influencers, And I think then it started to get out of hand when they were getting bigger and trying to make more attention. And then they were like, all right, we're shutting this down. But the problem is, what did I say? 200 people were accused of witchcraft and 27 of them found guilty, with 19 killed. 19 innocent people were killed. I mean, I'm assuming innocent because I think if you are doing witchcraft, cool, you do you, but so. Yeah, so that's one of the biggest. I don't know if either of you ever been to Salem, Massachusetts. It's pretty cool.
No, I've never been.
It's a cool place. They really found their quiche, their kitsch.
Oh, I'm sure. It's like Vegas and gambling.
Yeah.
Their niche?
That's what I meant, niche. I'm tired.
Yeah, because I don't think their quiche has anything to do with anything.
Did you say quiche? I didn't even catch that. That's shit.
Yeah, she said quiche. I was like
quiche, which is like a cha.
Yeah, check the first word. It says quiche.
Adam always says.
And then you say kitsch.
Adam says that I say things wrong, and he's like, I don't know how you're getting a PhD because you can't even say words correctly. And I was like,
hey, as long as you type them out right.
Right, that's what I said, Dave. I was like, I don't have to say the words. I just have to type them.
Right.
And then I blame being from Baltimore. I'm a Baltimorean. We don't say things correctly.
Well, I mean, COVID brain's a pretty good explanation of it too. But.
All right, let's keep going.
Quiche. They found their quiche.
They found their quiche. So 100 years later, a fearsome image of witches had faded and then became really absorbed with popular culture, which was used to show witches as being violent and all of that. And that's kind of where those ideas of the wicked witch of the West came, kind of how we picture evil witches with a pointy hat and the nose. And it really entered sort of that life of fantasy, fiction, all of that.
Okay.
So in 1921, sorry.
No, so that's kind of when they got that bad rap of being the nasty old people, that live in the woods and have the moles on their face and the different colored skin.
Yeah, I would say it wouldn't be
just the modern day picture of a witch. That's when it started.
Yeah, I think it went from being like people are actually like this to this is like a fairy tale, like Hansel and Gretel and the witch.
Right.
Like I think that became more of when we talked about witches. And this is also when we started to have more pop culture. We had radio, comic books, books were able to be dispensed earlier, that kind of stuff. So there wasn't as much, and there was an archaeologist who argued that, witchcraft was not seen anymore as like this obscure occult thing, but rather like a dominant religious force. Like it was a religion that was persecuted, kind of like put down, that stuff.
Wow.
There's a lot of connection, really interesting connection with like the thought of witchcraft and like the Roman people, not Romans like from Rome, the Romani, like the gypsies. And that was a big thing. We think about like World War II, a lot of the Romanis were persecuted and part of the Holocaust. And a lot of that dates back also to like traditions and things they did that would have kind of be seen as like witchcraft.
Yeah.
So the other part of this like dominant religious force is kind of like modern day witchcraft. And that's really what I wanted to like end with talking about is, modern day witches. What does that look like? We've really kind of accepted this world. We had the like satanic panic back in the 80s and 90s, but I think from there it's kind of grown into this new development. So this is called the Wicca or Wiccan. So Wicca, which is an Anglo-Saxon term for craft of the wise, recalls ancient practices that use herbs and other natural elements to promote healing, harmony, love, and wisdom. And they follow a tenet of harm none. So it is believed to be kind of the world's power to choose their next witch. And it could be a man or woman. There are men or women who practice Wiccan, but it's usually often a female. Yeah. So what do you all know about Wicca?
I know it's to jump in, as I know it's kind of a lightness thing. It's not intended to be, dark rituals, things like that. It's all about healing and nature. And there's a spinoff. I don't know if it's really a spinoff, but there's Wicca, and then there's another one that's similar to that. That's also like very on the light side of things and not the dark side. I can't think of the name of it, but there's another one.
Yeah.
This is all news to me. So.
So modern day witches of the Western world, they struggle to really shake off that historical like stereotype. But again, it is a recognized religion in the U.S. It is, they believe, to avoid evil and the appearance of evil at all costs. Their motto is to harm none. And they strive to be peaceful, tolerant, and balanced with nature. Modern day witches perform witchcraft, but they seldomly do anything spinster. Their spells are usually derived from their Book of Shadows, which is a collection of wisdom and witchcraft. It can be kind of compared to other like biblical or other religion texts like the Bible, the Quran, stuff like that. And it's more likely to include things like a herbal remedy to cure the flu, or try this and it might help with your arthritis, or this crystal might make your chara, whatever it's called, better, like that kind of stuff. They seldomly put hexes on people.
Seldomly?
I say that because I don't know.
I mean, the ability's still there, so.
Wow,
yeah. But yeah, many embrace like healing and protection to be able to help. It's again linking back to that ancestry of helping the community and all of that. There are still witches or women mostly being accused of witchcraft, some men in different countries that are being persecuted. So in like Papua New Guinea, there have been some men and women killed. There was a young mother in 2010 who was burned alive for being called a witch.
Holy cow.
Wow.
Yeah, so that wasn't that far ago, but 12 years ago. Also, there's been some violence for like, people in Africa, South America, the Middle East, who've all been kind of, persecuted or because of things they do, are called that. So, it's still happening. I think we have to really, like I said, I think the big thing with witches and with the history of witches is to ask ourselves, where does the line of like, is this just women or men or a religion that is practicing what they believe, opposed to, I don't know, what they taught in the 1500s, that maybe it still lingers.
Yeah.
So that is my very brief history of witches. I would love for us to dig deeper into maybe some specific chats about witches later on. I'd love to do like a Halloween episode specifically more about the Salem witch trials.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool to dive in some of the specific cases. That was a very good overview to kind of give us a taste and wet our whistle. But just like we plan to do on the aliens, we did an overview and we plan to dive deeper and more specific into some cases. I think that would be cool to slide into some deeper cases on witches.
So before we head off and we say goodbye, I wanted to play a game. So I hope you all will play a game with me.
Yeah, sure.
So this game is called Which Witch is Which? And we are going to use the Which Witch Sandwich Shop, not a sponsor yet, but I'm working on it, website to look at different sandwich types. And I'm going to give you the name of a famous witch, whether a real witch. I think all of them actually are ones from, maybe not. And you are to tell me what kind of sandwich you would make for this witch.
Okay.
Are you ready? All right. So our first witch, we're going to start easy with our favorite witch, the one all of us called out. That is Elphaba, the Wicked Witch of the West. What would you put on her sandwich?
So I'm going to go with the ultimate BLT for her. And the reason being,
I would think, okay, go ahead.
Is it's kind of West Coast a little bit, I feel like. And nope, I'm sorry. Wait a minute. No, I'm good with that. Yeah, and it looks like they put some avocado spread on there or something, and that's definitely West Coast. And plenty of pork on there. Get her protein and stuff. Yeah, I think that's what I would give her.
All right. Dave,
I think I'm going for the Cali Club.
Ooh.
Because we're talking West Coast, right?
Oh, man.
It's got the avocado on it.
Yeah, I messed
up. It's got the turkey bacon. Yeah, so I'd call that one the Cali Club.
Yeah.
I like it.
I think I need to change mine to go with that.
So we're giving we're going to order her the Cali Club.
Yeah.
All right. And I will, our listeners, I will attach a picture of the sandwich and the witch in our Instagram, and you can see what we choose. All right. Our next witch is the Wicked Witches of the West enemy. That is Glinda, the Good Witch of the North. What are we giving her?
Oh, the Good Witch.
I'm going to say she's a Puritan. So I'm going to go with the black bean avocado, which looks to use some sort of meat that's not real meat.
Probably black bean.
Yeah, they use a black bean patty. So I'm going to go with that.
So since you said Puritan, and like I scrolled down and stopped right on the garden party sandwich.
That's the one that I was thinking too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got the avocado spread on there to kind of, spice her up a little bit. She got a little spice going on.
Okay. Maybe that will be a poll question in our Instagram. All right, here's our next one. Sabrina, the Teenage Witch.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go
the grinder.
She was kind of. I don't know if you've seen the last. If we're talking about the original Sabrina, the Teenage Witch, the one with Sarah. Was there Melissa Joan Hart? That's her name.
Melissa Joan Hart, yeah.
If we're talking that one, she was pretty nasty in the last season. We were rewatching all those episodes not long ago with the family, and that last season, she was a little snappy and a little quick at the tongue. So I'm going to go with the buffalo chicken for her.
She was a little spicy.
Yeah. I think she was a little spicy in that last season. So I'm going to give her buffalo chicken.
Also, that looks really good.
It does.
What are you thinking, Dave?
I'm trying to look her up real quick. So it's are we talking this one?
Yeah.
You're frozen for me, so.
Yeah, that's her.
That's her? I thought she was cute. Always thought
she's a pretty girl. Cute. She looks almost identical now. So.
Yeah, she has not changed.
You went with a buffalo chicken? So yeah, I'd pull the buffalo chicken. She's got a little spice to her.
Yeah.
All right.
Got that blonde hair, so that goes with the white chicken.
Yeah. Our next one is one of my favorite witches. You may not even realize she's a witch. Hermione Granger from Harry Potter.
Yeah, that's a different one.
Oh, see, this is when I need Savannah, and I sent her away.
I'm going to go with the garden party for her. I'm pretty sure she's a vegetarian.
How do you spell Hermione?
It
with
is H E.
I got hermaphrodite. That's not it.
That's not it. It's HARMONINE.
And first of all, that's the first thing that pops up when you put H in there. What are you searching, bud?
Don't worry about that. It's not your business. It's not your business what I do in my free time, all right?
When you throw H in your phone and that's the first thing that comes up? Hermaphrodite?
It wasn't the first thing. It was probably like the third or fourth, but it's close.
But the same, man.
Mine is...
Sometimes I'm bored.
Right,
okay.
Fair enough.
Mine is Haemophilus influenza.
Oh, that's some doctor shit right there.
I don't even know what I was looking. So, Chris, you said the garden party.
Okay. The ultimate BLT, because I think she brings everything to the table.
Interesting choice.
All right. This one is another favorite of mine. We have the Scarlet Witch.
Who's that?
She is Wanda from Marvel.
Oh, WandaVision?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. She's the twins sister, right?
The
Elizabeth.
Sister. Yeah.
Something.
Olsen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Olsen. Hello. I'm gonna go with
the Witch. The ZA Witch.
Yeah, I think I'll go with the Witch.
Spicy.
Yeah, spicy, because she's definitely spicy for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's really.
I was either gonna go with that
spicy
or
individual.
the Wicked, because they have the Wicked too.
Well, I'm trying to hold on to the Wicked because I think there's probably a better witch coming.
I agree. I was keeping that one in my back pocket.
Yeah.
So we have 3 more witches left. One is not my mother, although I thought about putting her on there to see how you all reacted. It was not Martha. So how about Samantha from Bewitched?
Oh. I'm gonna go Philly cheesesteak.
I'm gonna order. Ooh, I like that.
And I feel like Philly cheesesteak because I feel like she had
that little nose thing.
Yeah, and I feel like she had like an accent that seemed like a Philly accent.
She did have sort of a northern accent.
But then I feel like she had like a genie accent. So I don't know. But I feel like, I don't know. Philly was the first thing that came to mind when you said her. So that's what I'm going to go with.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to tag that one with you, Philly. I'll agree with that one.
This one was one that was recommended when I asked my sweet husband for some witches. He said the Blair Witch.
That's a good one. I think I'm going to have to break out the Wicked on that one.
Yep. I think we hit the Wicked on it.
Yeah.
That is a wicked sandwich. It's got turkey, ham, roast beef, pepperoni, bacon, cheddar, provolone.
I know. I kind of want
pepper
it,
jack,
actually.
Lettuce, tomatoes, red onions, and mayo.
Oh, I'm ordering it tomorrow.
That was a fat sandwich.
I've already made the decision. That's what I'm having for lunch / dinner tomorrow.
5 meats and 3 cheeses.
5 meats and 3 cheeses.
Get it in, bud.
That thing's a beast.
All right, and then our last one, you can pick 3 sandwiches or 1 large one for them to share. Ladies and gentlemen, my favorite witches, who will be having a sequel coming out soon, the Sanderson sisters from Hocus Pocus.
Yeah. Hocus Pocus. I don't think they could share because they're all kind of different. But I can't remember their names, so I'm going to describe them as best I can.
Yeah, just tell me which one. There's Bette Midler.
So the heavier set one.
Okay, I know that is Catherine Nunati. Yep.
Yeah, Catherine is the Reuben Witch.
Okay.
I think she'd get the Reuben Witch because she seems a little more like German descent.
Okay.
The younger one, the youngest.
Sarah Jessica Parker. Yeah.
Yeah. I think she would get the cheeseburger witch because she's kind of like, younger, more in line with, she'd like cheeseburgers, something simple. And the other one that had the jacked up teeth.
Bette Midler.
Yeah, I think she'd get the meatballer because that'd be the only thing she'd be able to chomp into.
That's what I was thinking. The redhead gets the meatballs for sure.
Yeah.
Red sauce, redhead.
I like it. I will find out what their names are. I feel like I remember one of them is Winnie. I think the Bette Midler is Winnie.
Yeah, I couldn't remember the names.
The other ones.
So Winfred is Bette Midler.
Yes.
Sarah is Sarah Jessica Parker, and Mary is Catherine Najimy.
That's right. When you said it, I was like, it came out, and then Catherine is Mary, and Sarah is Sarah, right?
Yes. Kathy Najimy is Mary, and Winfred is Bette Midler, and Sarah is Sarah Jessica Parker.
Love it.
I did not realize that was Sarah Jessica Parker.
Oh, you didn't?
I mean, I didn't really. Hocus Pocus isn't really.
That's a classic.
Now I see it all day.
It's a classic.
So Love good.
It. Now I see it all day.
So good. All right. Well, I appreciate you all playing my favorite game that I've just invented, Which Witch is Which. You can play it with your friends, your foes. You don't even have to use the Which Witch menu. You could make up your own sandwiches. That was actually my first intention. I was going to tell you the sandwich, and you have to tell me which witch. But Adam said that might be too hard.
Yeah, and I think it would have got out of control. I kind of like that we had something specific, like pick the menu,
Yeah.
I definitely like that.
So,
yeah.
Well, thank you for playing Which Witch is Which. I'm going to try to have Which Witch sponsor us. And if you are drinking while listening to our podcast, you could make this a drinking game. And every time I say the word witch, just take a shot.
And you can use
your shot of liquid death
water. It's delicious and refreshing.
So people aren't getting up if it's attributed to how many times you said witch.
This has been a fun one, guys. This has been a fun episode. All right, guys. Well, I want to thank everyone. A long one. It's definitely a long one. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to this week's episode of the Waters Runs Deep podcast. Please, a simple reminder. That's a good one. Simple reminder to please tell your friends, your family, everybody about us. The more listens we get, the more people we can get out there, the better it is. Helps us out big time. Yeah, if you have any ideas, you like the idea that we mentioned about the podcast spinoff earlier about doing some dream stuff, let us know in the comments. If you guys want to, put your dreams on here, you can write us and we can put your dreams on there. We can do my dreams, Margaret's dreams. I think it'd be an interesting spinoff. So if you guys are interested in that, let us know. And we'll look for you on the next one.
For sure.
Awesome.
We have stickers, so if you leave us. Yes, I will. I'm going to enjoy it.
Happy birthday, Chris.
Actually, it's already past my birthday, guys. But, yeah. Just a reminder, too, we have stickers. If you guys leave us a 5-star review, let us know. Email us. Write us on Instagram. Let us know that you did it. Send us a private chat with your address, and we'll get some stickers out to you.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
All right. Shall we meet again?
Adios.
See ya.
Wicked witch.
Thank you.